Promiscuity, a word used to condemn women when they live differently from what society expects. If they love too genuinely, speak too much, or live too freely, they instantly become wrongdoers. But amidst glamorous Hollywood, some female singers have turned that judgment into motivation to shine. They step onto the stage with pride in their eyes, singing as a challenge to the norms imposed on black women. The public called them rebellious, out of control, but it was that very fire that made them icons. In today's video, we will look at 21 black R&B singers called the most promiscuous, the women who transformed the world's scornful gaze into the power to sing freely, live freely, and exist freely. 21. Tina Turner. In 1976, on a rainy night in Dallas, Tina Turner fled a hotel with only a few dollars in her pocket and a bleeding wound on her lip. That story later became a legend, the woman who escaped the grip of Ike Turner to start anew. The whole world called her an icon of resilience, proof of a woman's strength to rise from hell. But few know that after walking out of that abusive door, Tina didn't just reclaim her career, she also reclaimed her own body and instincts, in a way many deemed promiscuous. When her first hits roared back in the early 80s, Tina also began a new journey, the journey of living authentically. No man could tell her what to eat, what to wear, or who to sleep with anymore. In her small Los Angeles apartment, friends recount that Tina often hosted small parties where she sang, laughed, and danced until exhausted, as if shaking off every lingering piece of the past. She dated younger men, musicians, dancers, and even fans, not to seek attention, but to feel that she was still desired, still in control of her own life. In one interview, when asked about her rebellion after the divorce, Tina simply smiled. "I spent half my life being controlled. Now, I want to choose." That answer was both gentle and sharp as a knife, enough to make people understand that every wild night, every fleeting affair, was a part of her healing journey. Close acquaintances said that during those years. Tina loved fiercely but also stopped when she felt complete, because for her, love was no longer dependence, but a free dance. Tina Turner's promiscuity, when looked at closely, was not a scandal, but a rebirth. She used freedom as revenge against the past, turning desire into strength and transforming her once damaged body into a testament to survival. Later, when she met Erwin Bach, the man who stayed with her until the end of her life, Tina smiled and said, "I found peace, but I had to go through hell to reach it." And that's why people don't just call her the Queen of Rock and Roll, but also the Queen of Freedom. 20. Diana Ross. Detroit, in the mid-1960s, was the moment Motown exploded. Music poured out of every door, from radios, from cars speeding down Woodward Avenue. And amidst that storm, one name shone brighter than all: Diana Ross. The girl with the proud eyes and a voice as clear as crystal quickly became the soul of the Supremes, an icon of a generation. When stepping onto the stage, Diana didn't just sing, she glowed as if the lights were born to shine just for her. But behind that glamour, rumors began to creep in that to achieve glory, Diana played a game not everyone dared to bet on. Motown at that time was a world full of power, where music, fame, and desire blended together. Berry Gordy, the label's founder, was said to be both Diana's mentor and secret lover. People said their love was written in melody, but was also deeply steeped in calculation. The young woman was pushed to the top, while other colleagues could only watch. Backstage, Diana often appeared in long gowns, white gloves, with a gentle smile, but her eyes were sharp, as if she knew she held a power that Motown men couldn't control. As her fame peaked, rumors also swirled around, from Smokey Robinson to the label's musicians. Anyone who worked with Diana was somewhat drawn into the news vortex. She was labeled the studio queen, the one who knew how to make anyone submit, whether through talent or allure. But right or wrong, Diana never denied it. She remained silent, continuing to walk with the proud demeanor and smile of someone who knows power is never a gift, but something to be seized. Diana Ross's promiscuity, if it existed, was not a fall from grace, but her way of asserting her right to exist in a male-dominated world. She didn't apologize for being beautiful, ambitious, or for using everything she had to get further than anyone else of her time. When the Motown lights faded, Diana Ross still stood there, not just as a music legend, but as proof that, sometimes, to be seen, a woman must dare to burn brightest until the very end. 19. Etta James. Los Angeles Night, 1954. In the smoke and clinking glasses of a small nightclub on Sunset Boulevard. A voice resonated like fire burning the air. That was Etta James, the young girl with a small physique but a powerful voice that silenced the entire room. She was called the Queen of Blues, the one who brought melodies that were both intoxicating and painful on stage. Etta was a wild wind, singing as if venting all her anger and desire, and in real life. She lived exactly the same way, without limits, without fear, and without asking anyone's permission to be herself. Her years in Los Angeles were the most brilliant and chaotic period of Etta's life. After every performance, the city seemed to revolve around her. The bars, the hotels, and the brightly lit backstage areas all became Etta's private world. People recounted that she often appeared with different men, from singers, boxers, to notorious playboys, but in every whisper. The most memorable image was still that of a woman walking into a room with a defiant smile, tired eyes, and a voice that commanded silence. Etta once said, "I love the way I sing fiercely and without regret." That quote almost defined her entire being when addiction struck. Etta plunged into non-stop parties, as if seeking the feeling of being loved, of being understood. Amidst the haze of fame and loneliness, some thought she was self-destructing, but in reality, Etta was just looking for a place to belong, even if only for a few short hours. Etta James's promiscuity was not just a scandal. It was her way of fighting back against an abandoned childhood and unhealed traumas. Love, for her, was never gentle, but a storm that needed to be lived fully, despite a tumultuous life. Etta's voice still rings out like a confession. Both painful and beautiful, she lived, loved, and burned passionately so that when the lights go out, people can still hear in her melodies the echo of a heart that never surrendered. 18. Chaka Khan. New York in the late 1970s. Funk dance floors were blazing in neon lights and shimmering dresses. Amidst that atmosphere, Chaka Khan's voice rang out, fierce and passionate like the call of freedom. She was an icon of energy, feminism, and liberation in every rhythm. Every time I'm Every Woman played, audiences felt the intense vitality from the woman who refused to accept limits. But along with the glamour, Chaka also stepped into a world where stage lights and the darkness of temptation intertwined, where freedom easily turned into promiscuity. During the funk boom, the endless parties were Chaka's second stage. After every show, she often vanished from backstage, only to reappear hours later at another nightclub, where the music pulsed and the glasses were never empty. In the smoke and laughter, she was often seen with various men singers, musicians, boxers, and Hollywood rebels. Every encounter was like a riff in a funk song, spontaneous, passionate, and unrepeated. Rumors spread quickly, but Chaka seemed unconcerned. She sang, loved, and lived as if every day was her last performance. Later, Chaka Khan's relationships became legends of promiscuity. She openly lived wildly, struggled with cocaine addiction, and didn't hesitate to engage with other famous stars. She was once involved with Rick James, notorious for his crazy super freak lifestyle. This relationship was seen by those in the industry as a combination of two uncontrollable instincts. Chaka was even on the list of lovers of jazz genius Miles Davis. Along with many other funk and rock musicians, she didn't try to hide. Her sexual freedom was part of her image as an uncompromising star of that era. Chaka Khan's promiscuity, viewed from another angle, was not just a scandal, but the defiance of a woman who wanted to write her own rules. She paid the price with broken marriages and years lost to addiction. But ultimately, she stood up, her fiery voice still singing. Because Chaka Khan is not just the queen of funk, she is an icon of freedom, strength, and also the wounds that freedom leaves behind. 17. Millie Jackson. A summer night in 1977 in Atlanta. Red lights faintly covered the small stage. The audience was packed, and Millie Jackson walked out in a tight metallic dress. Before singing, she smiled, grabbed the microphone, and dropped a line that silenced the room before breaking into laughter. "If y'all came here to hear a fairy tale, you came to the wrong place." That statement was enough to define her entire being, fierce, raw, and utterly naked. Millie's voice didn't just sing with sound, but with anger and desire, things women of that era rarely dared to express. In the 1970s, when female singers were still confined to a gentle and restrained image, Millie Jackson chose the opposite path. She talked about sex right on stage, cursed, talked back to the audience, then switched to singing a poignant love song as if nothing had happened. Every performance of hers was a battle between propriety and instinct. Sex is the only honest topic in music, she once declared, and she lived by that. After the show, Millie would be seen at a nearby bar, whiskey in hand, chatting comfortably with musicians, men who came and went like short notes in her life. The press at the time wrote that Millie Jackson had no limits, and indeed, she didn't in music or in love. Her relationships were nameless, promised nothing, and had no strings attached. She once said, "I don't need anyone to save me. I just need them to stay until I finish singing." For Millie, sex was not indulgence, but power, the only way for a woman to reclaim her body in a world that constantly wanted to control it. Despite being banned from broadcast in many places, criticized as vulgar and immoral, Millie Jackson never bowed her head. She turned every criticism into material for her music, transforming the shame society cast upon women into a defiant laugh. For her, promiscuity was not a sin, but a form of truth. And when people mention Millie Jackson, they don't just remember her rough, fiery voice, but also the woman who forced the world to confront what everyone hid, their own desire. 16. Bette Davis. Manhattan, a small nightclub in 1973, purple lights shone on Bette Davis's sweaty skin. She walked out in a silver bodysuit reflecting the light. Her lips bright red and her eyes seeming to scorch the audience when the guitar music started. Bette didn't sing right away. She smiled, leaned in, and began to move slowly, step by step, as if challenging everyone. The audience was silent, unsure if they were watching a show or a ritual of freedom, in an era where women were still expected to be gentle. Bette Davis chose to be wild and turned her own body into a weapon. The entire American music world at that time had never witnessed anything like Bette. She didn't just sing about sex, she lived it, turning it into a part of her art while performing. She often twisted, knelt, and screamed lyrics that made the audience blush. Critics called it obscene, but for Bette, It was just the naked truth everyone tried to hide. "I don't pretend, I sing about what I think, and I do what I want," she once said in a backstage interview, her glass still shaking in her hand. That quote, later, was seen as the manifesto for her entire career. Betty's promiscuity didn't stop on stage. Her life followed the magnetic rhythm of funk rock. People rumored that she had affairs with Jimi Hendrix, the world's most rebellious guitarist, and Eric Clapton, the genius with a damaged heart. But in every relationship, Betty was always in control. She wasn't anyone's muse, but the one who made them tremble. She controlled their gaze, the rhythm, and even others' desire, like a conductor leading an orchestra. Despite being banned from performing on many TV stations for being too provocative, Betty Davis never backed down. She was not just a singer, but a woman who dared to turn eroticism into a voice of freedom. When society called her promiscuous, she just smiled, as if saying, "Yes, and I'm proud of it." Today, looking back, people no longer see notoriety in Betty Davis, but an icon, the one who used desire and her body to break the mold for Black women. She didn't just change music. She changed the concept of freedom in people's minds. 15. Whitney Houston. New York. A winter night in 1992. Whitney Houston stood backstage at Madison Square Garden, the auditorium in front of her shining like a sea of stars. When the opening notes of "I Will Always Love You" played, she took a deep breath. Her voice, clear and powerful, made the whole world believe angels truly existed. But in that moment, only Whitney knew that her life was drifting away from the dream where the spotlight was just a mask to hide her loneliness. Backstage, when the lights dimmed, Whitney was no longer the golden voice of America, but just a young woman trying to find a way to love in a world that forbade her to do so. In the mid-1980s, rumors about a deep relationship between Whitney and her best friend Robin Crawford spread everywhere. They were so close that everyone noticed something beyond friendship, but in an era where same-sex love was still taboo. Robin was forced to leave Whitney's inner circle, and Whitney was forced to adopt the image of the perfect queen. That separation plunged her into a spiral of loneliness, something no stage could fill. Then, Bobby Brown appeared, the man with a wild energy. Both salvation and stemmed their marriage. Initially a love song, quickly morphed into a distorted melody of jealousy, substances, and violence. Their home became a place of chaos, where two lost souls sought to gain control amidst smoke, hard liquor, and arguments. Whitney gradually lost the boundary between the stage and reality. For her, the parties, the acts of rebellion, were no longer scandals, but the only moments she truly lived. Whitney Houston's promiscuity was not a fall from grace, but the desperate cry of a soul imprisoned in a perfect mold. She sang about eternal love, but was never allowed to love the way she wanted, eventually. When the stage lights went out, people finally understood that Angel never fell because of sin. She only fell because she couldn't fly the way she desired. 14. LaVern Baker. Chicago, 1956, in a small, smoke-filled recording studio. LaVern Baker stood before the microphone, her eyes half closed, her voice ringing out warm and fiery. Tweedledee was just recorded, the whole band silent for a few seconds before erupting in applause. LaVern smiled, a smile mixed with pride and weariness. She knew that song could take her to the top, but she also understood that, in a racially segregated America, a voice alone was not enough. To be played on the radio, to be heard by audiences, she had to pay with something else, something the men in the industry always demanded but never acknowledged. In the mid-1950s, the music world was dominated by white DJs and powerful record label bosses. LaVern, with her sex appeal and bright red lips, quickly became a target in invisible bargaining. People recounted that some nights she didn't leave the studio through the main entrance, but through the back door, to meet someone, the one who held the power to decide whether her song would be broadcast. A few of her big hits were later heavily promoted by those same DJs, and people whispered it wasn't due to talent alone. But looked at closely, that promiscuity wasn't just scandal, it was a choice for survival. LaVern once said in a rare interview, "If I were a man, they'd call me ambitious. But I'm a woman, so they call me bad." That quote spoke for a whole generation of black female artists forced to trade their bodies for opportunity. In a world where every song was a gamble, LaVern knew the rules and she chose to play to win. Although LaVern Baker's fame faded later, her music lives on as a testament to a time when women had to sacrifice to be heard. Her promiscuity was not a downfall, but the courage draped in bitter beauty. When that voice sang, people didn't just hear music, they heard the voice of a woman who dared to risk everything to exist. 13. Aretha Franklin. Detroit. A Sunday night in the early 1950s, in Reverend C.L. Franklin's small wooden house. Piano music blended with the young, yet soulful voice of 12-year-old Aretha. Her father's guests that day were America's biggest gospel stars, Sam Cooke, Clara Ward, Millie Jackson. They sat around the table, sipping drinks, listening to the girl sing. When the song ended, the room applauded, but amidst the applause, the eyes of a few men were no longer innocent. That was the first moment, though no one realized it. Aretha Franklin's life began to slip away from innocence. Just a few years later, news spread across Detroit that the Reverend's daughter was pregnant at age 12, then gave birth to a second child at 14. No one knew exactly who the fathers of the children were, only that the Reverend's house, dubbed the Cathedral of Black Music, was also where secrets that made Aretha grow up too fast were hidden, in that half-religious, half-showbiz world. She learned that to survive, sometimes she had to remain silent about her pain. From then on, promiscuity was no longer a choice, but a way for her to escape the darkness. When she stepped onto the world stage, Aretha Franklin shone with respect and natural woman. But behind the lights, her life was one of solitary nights and secret affairs. Between long tours, she often turned to alcohol, men, and short relationships to fill an unnamed void. Some say she loved a trumpet player in the band. Others recount her falling passionately for her own manager, then letting go without a word of goodbye. Aretha loved intensely, but also left easily, as if each time she loved was a search for herself in the wreckage of her childhood. Aretha Franklin's promiscuity, ultimately, was not self-indulgence, but the cry of a soul whose innocence was stolen. In every note, she poured out her pain, desire, and even repentance. When she sang, "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman," people didn't just hear a voice, they heard the heart of a woman who had loved, been lost, and finally found herself through music. 12. Donna Summer. Donna Summer, the disco icon of the 1970s, created a global craze with her sensual songs like "Love to Love You Baby." She represented the sexiness and freedom of the disco era. Her career was tied to promiscuity rumors that exploded in the press. The media whispered about her double life, both a devout woman tied to the church and a participant in drug and sex parties in Los Angeles. Her provocative lyrics and intense performance style made her considered a loose woman. The contrast between her faith and personal desire was a highlight of her secret life. However, this lifestyle was also her way of liberating herself. Donna Summer shaped a generation of women who dared to express their desire and personal freedom. 11. Anita Baker. Anita Baker, the queen of romantic soul of the 1980s, was famous for her deep, seductive voice. She built an image of a mature, discreet, and sophisticated woman. However, her time in the music production world was linked to backstage promiscuity rumors. She was rumored to have affairs with married men in the production circle. Baker was once dubbed the mysterious muse of many powerful Motown producers. These affairs helped her gain a foothold, but also created a silent notoriety. These relationships were considered the price a black female artist had to pay to gain power in the music industry. 10. Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson, the pop R&B icon, Michael Jackson's younger sister, asserted herself with a sexy and self-controlled image. The albums Control and Rhythm Nation are testaments to female power. The Velvet Rope era was considered her public sexual declaration. She was rumored to have secret relationships with many celebrities, including Tupac Shakur and Bobby Brown. Notably, she was also suspected of having affairs with many male dancers on tour. She used sexual freedom as a means of liberation from her family's shadow. Janet Jackson is an icon of female sexual power. She used promiscuity to break her innocent image and become a self-determined woman. 9. Teena Marie. Teena Marie, the white girl of Motown, succeeded by immersing herself in the world of black funk and R&B. She was a rare voice, full of power and charm. Her life was linked to uninhibited promiscuity as the lover of Rick James. They both shared a wild lifestyle full of drugs, sex, and fierce funk music. Teena Marie entered the destructive vortex of Rick James, where romantic relationships were uncontrolled. This lifestyle almost ruined her career. This relationship shows that excessive freedom can lead to tragic consequences. She is an icon of the woman who dared to love, dared to live in the chaos of sex and illicit substances. Patti LaBelle. Patti LaBelle, the diva queen with an extraordinary voice, is famous for her decades-long career. She built a strong, powerful image on stage. Despite being private, Patti once admitted to a promiscuous life in her younger years after tours. She had fleeting relationships with many musicians and male fans backstage. This promiscuity is thought to be part of a free lifestyle following stressful performances. She was not afraid to experiment and assert her instincts. Patti LaBelle is a woman who dared to challenge her own limits. She viewed her youthful promiscuity as life experience, which does not overshadow her great career. 7. Ruth Brown. Ruth Brown, the queen of R&B of the 1950s, was a pioneering singer with an explosive style. She was admired for her groundbreaking career. In an era where it was difficult for black women to gain power, Ruth was seen as a power-hungry woman because of her promiscuity. She often associated with influential men. Her relationships included producers, DJs, and even nightclub-protecting mafia figures. She used her charm to exchange for protection and career opportunities. Ruth Brown turned promiscuity into a survival tool. She is an icon of the woman who dared to fight for her career in a harsh music environment. 6. Minnie Riperton. Minnie Riperton, the lyrical singer with a 5-octave vocal range, is famous for the song "Lovin' You." She was an icon of subtlety and romance in soul pop. However, she had a complicated romantic life in the Chicago art scene. She was rumored to have cheated while recording with legend Stevie Wonder. Riperton's promiscuity was not just a rumor, but a truth that fractured her marriage. This lifestyle was a complete contrast to her romantic image on stage. Despite a tragic end, Riperton is celebrated for daring to live authentically with her emotions. She is the one who transformed complex emotions into beautiful music. Martha Reeves. Martha Reeves, the lead singer of the Vandellas at Motown, is the voice behind classic hits like Dancing in the Street. She was one of Motown's powerful female stars. She had many promiscuity rumors about relationships with band members and Motown logistical staff. This lifestyle caused much internal trouble. After her peak, She fell into a spiral of alcohol and drugs, exacerbating her uncontrolled relationships. This chaos greatly affected her career. Reeves's Promiscuity was an expression of the pressure of fame in Motown. She is the woman who struggled with temptation and the devastation of stardom. Or Natalie Cole. Natalie Cole, the R&B jazz diva and daughter of Nat King Cole, is famous for hits like This Will Be. She is an icon of great musical inheritance. After her success in the 1970s, she fell into a spiral of addiction, partying, and a promiscuous lifestyle. She had uncontrolled relationships with many musicians, actors, and even fans. Her promiscuity and addiction almost ruined her career. She was seen as a self-destructive woman because she couldn't bear the pressure of her family's shadow. However, she overcame it and revived her career. Natalie Cole is an icon of the woman who dared to face her downfall and reclaim her life. 3. Gladys Knight. Gladys Knight, the Empress of Soul, is the great voice of the group The Pips. She is an icon of professionalism and strength. In the 1970s, her private life was complicated with promiscuity rumors and affairs. She had complex relationships with many male artists. Most notably was the relationship with Barry Hankerson, who was both her manager and lover, causing her crisis and loss of control. This relationship was seen as an abuse of power and affection. Knight's promiscuity was a sign of seeking stability and disorientation in her private life. She turned her suffering into strength to continue her career. 2. Stephanie Mills. Stephanie Mills, the queen of Broadway and R&B, is famous for her role as Dorothy in The Wiz. She is a strong, captivating voice. She was rumored to have dated Michael Jackson and many other famous male artists of her time. Mills was known as someone who didn't maintain distance between the stage and real life. Her promiscuity was shown through a public and rapid series of relationships. She is the woman who dared to be proactive in love and was not afraid to pursue those she desired. Stephanie Mills is an icon of the woman who lived passionately. Her promiscuous lifestyle is only a small part compared to the great talent she possesses. 1. Loleatta Holloway. Loleatta Holloway, the disco queen with a powerful voice, is one of the singers adored by DJs. Her performance style was always provocative and passionate. She gained notoriety for promiscuous behavior in her work. She was rumored to have had simultaneous relationships with 2 of her producers to secure her career. This exposed a naked truth about female artists having to use sex to control or advance in the music industry. Loleatta Holloway is an icon of the woman who made sacrifices to maintain her career. Her promiscuity was a means of survival in the competitive world of disco.